started? Okay. So welcome tonight for our Mapping Relationships webinar with Barbara Sapharas as our presenter. My name is Deb Petermann, and I'm with the Center for Disability Empowerment. We are going to show a quick little PowerPoint of 3 slides, a big one, and it's also going to tell us where we're going tonight and where the next 2 sessions will go and their dates and when they're offered. I will also put a link if you missed our sibling adult panel last week. I have the link. The recording will be in the link if you want to take a look at that at another time. And I'm going to go ahead and show my screen and get us started. Barbara, I'm going to ask you to keep an eye on letting people in. Okay. All right. So as I said, I'm with the Center for Disability Empowerment. It is a non-residential 501c3 independent living center. We are based out of Columbus, Ohio, and we cover Franklin, Union, Delaware, and Licking County. But as we all know, with the virtual, the boundaries are endless. And I mean, we just actually have someone from New Hampshire on tonight, which is amazing. So I have these logos on this page. The round one, I'm sure you might have heard of it, maybe not. We'll learn about it for the first time tonight, is the Charting the LifeCourse logo. Charting the LifeCourse, honestly, I was just telling Barb, when we were doing this grant, oh, it's another thing to learn, but I'll tell you what, it's the way to go, and it's happening. So you are going to be learning about something that's doing well across the states to help you in your problem solving, goal setting, all those kind of things you have to sit down and think about, but it helps you to get, like she called, paper power. Right, Barbara?
Yep.
All right, so this is a grant from the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, and the grant's name is Ohio Family Network. We began the grant just before the pandemic hit, and we are on the second round. What we're finding is it's helping families to how to connect with each other, how to advocate for their children or their person with IDD, as well as just putting it into kind of our way of introducing our loved ones, whether it be through an IEP or using a person-centered profile to maybe be to show a new teacher who your son or daughter is, what they enjoy. And most of all, what I love about the Charting the LifeCourse is that it is a group of people that are for us. They're for families impacted by disability. I have never seen any networking like this before. So without further ado, I'm going to just go ahead and just talk about the Center for Independent Living just for a minute. Our work is driven by choice and direction of people with disabilities. We actually are very similar to the Charting the LifeCourse mission. Our mission is to provide supports and resources for people with disabilities in order for them to be participants and contributors in their communities as they live, learn, worship, work, and play alongside people without disabilities. So I've got this page right here has a list. We had a 4-part series. Some of you may have come last week and were able to be part of the adult sibling panel. I left the date up there, but I also added the recording link for YouTube. Tonight, we're going to work on understanding relationships and mapping for potential support. We'll be presenting the Charting the LifeCourse tools, reciprocal roles, and mapping family roles. I think you will find this very helpful in getting your thoughts down on paper and thinking about who are some other people besides the natural supports that a person may have. Next week, we will be having Sarah Hall be talking about the sandwich generation. I want to say it's like a club sandwich generation because we are adults that are caring for our aging parents. we're caring for our own children, and we're caring for our SIBs with disabilities. And then on the last day, we will have Ohio SIBS Executive Director Diana Temple present ideas on how we can support children and teens who have siblings with disabilities. So I'm going to get out of my screen, and I'm going to highlight Barbara. I can do that, pin her. And I want to introduce you to Barbara. She is a sibling with lived experience, a lot of lived experience. And she has two brothers, one with IDD, and the other became disabled as an adult. Barbara has worked in the IDD field for over 45 years. I don't know how many years you're doing it now, but she served in a variety of roles, including direct support professional, speech language pathologist, service coordinator, staff development, a specialist, and some administrative roles. Barb is also my mentor. I have learned so much on how to help parents partner with their community resources and just getting people connected just in general. So Barb currently works as an independent consultant as a Charting the LifeCourse Ambassador, coach, and the Nexus Facilitator. Her passion is to support and empower people with lived experience and families is what drives her and is driven by her role that she learned as a sibling. So Barbara, I'm giving it to you now. Thank you so much for doing this for us tonight.
Thank you, Deb. Deb, can you put the PowerPoint handout and the handouts in the chat? Yes. Okay, yes. Great. So you will get the PowerPoint and also the tools that I'm going to be talking about. And I'm so glad to see so many family members. I'm really excited, actually, because I think these are a couple of tools that I'll share that really will help families as we think about who will take my place. And, you know, of course, we all know that no one can take our place, not the role of a parent, not the role of a sibling. No one can take your place. But we also have to think as we plan for the future, who can do some of the things that we do and how can they support the people that we love. So Deb has shared my story, but here are some pictures that I love. I had two younger brothers. Jim was 2 years younger than me, and Jim was the one that was hurt in an accident in his 30s, and it impacted his ability to earn a living and to get through his day without help. And then Nick was 4 years younger than me, and he's on Santa's lap, not very happy. And he was diagnosed with a developmental disability when he was about 6 months old, and I was just going into kindergarten. So that was 1958, and we had home-based services within a month of his diagnosis, which was very rare. There was no county board. There were no public services. It was a private agency in the Cleveland area, and they sent staff to our home. So as a kindergartner, I knew what speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, range of motion, and I could go on and on. The vocabulary that I had to know and understand, cerebral palsy, all sorts of things. I retired from the Cuyahoga County Board, and I am now retired and work as a consultant. I'm also a trainer in person-centered thinking. So I'm going to share resources from both Charting the Life course and person-centered thinking because they are complementary. They are to support and empower people with disabilities and their families. As Deb said, the funding for this training, we are so appreciative of the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, who funds these opportunities so that we can provide the information without cost. I'll probably remind you again, but if you're interested in learning more about Charting the Life course and the sessions that we have, please go to frnohio.org. In other words, the website for Family Resource Network of Ohio. When you go to that webpage, it says, do you want to sign up for information? If you sign up, you'll get a flyer every time we have any kind of training or information sessions. And like I said, they are provided without cost. So that's the best way to get the information. You'll have 3 handouts. I see there's lots in chats. Okay, great. You'll have the PowerPoint. So you have the information and you can refer back to it. And then 2 of the tools from Charting the Life Course, the reciprocal roles and the mapping family relationships. As I said, I think these are so helpful for families because we face that question of who will support them, who will replace me, who will take over. And as I said before, it probably will not be one person, but these tools help us think about, well, what kind of support does my loved one need and who might be able to provide that support? We are a small group. I think there's 11 or 12 of us on. I'm looking for I can't see, but anyway. If you have a question.
There's 10 of us.
There's 10 of us?
Mhm.
Okay. If you have a question, 2 options. You can either type in chat, and Deb, if you could help monitor chat if there's a question.
Yes, I will.
Or unmute and just call my name so I know you have a question. I would rather answer your questions as I'm presenting the information as opposed to having a Q&A at the end. And I'm happy to answer any questions. So one of the tools, if any of you have attended other Charting the Life Course information sessions, you know we use a trajectory. And that's what we want and what we don't want. And we also tell families, use this frame when you're thinking about the life you want for the person you love, but also what you don't want. In Ohio, what we want is we want people with disabilities, families, and professionals to all know about Charting the Life Course and to use the tools and resources to plan for a good life. It can be used across the lifespan, so from birth through the end of life. What we don't want is people to go, oh gosh, here's another piece of paper. And Deb said initially that was her reaction. Oh my gosh, there's pieces of paper I got to learn about. And that the information that families and people share with the people who help them, both paid and unpaid, so your teams, but also your families, what we don't want is that information is not valued and people go, oh, thank you very much. It's a nice piece of paper. I'll stick it in your folder. In other words, we want the information to be used to help people have the life they value. Charting the Life Course is for all people, from birth through the end of life. I've had the opportunity to work with families who have babies, all the way up to families who are supporting 80, 90-year-old family members, some who are aging, some who have developmental disabilities. So, and a lot of times staff will go, well, why can't I just use this for me in my life? And the answer is you can, because this is for everybody. This is not something that's disability only for people with disabilities. Our core concept is that we want all people and their families to have the right to live, love, work, play, learn, and pursue their life aspirations in their community. There are 8 guiding principles. I already talked about the first one. It's for all people. Charting the Life Course recognizes the importance of family systems. So we try not to say, well, it's about the person, but not you. But we talk about the person in the context of family. And think about it. I don't know why people think this is such a strange concept. We all have families. And we all know that if anything happens to one person in the family, it affects the whole family. Some of the impact that we may have felt throughout our life is when a parent dies, when a parent becomes ill, when a parent loses a job, when a sibling goes away to college, when a sibling gets married. And I'm not just talking about families with disabilities. Any family, it affects the family. I talked about the trajectory. It's important for all of us to have a vision of what that good life is and to articulate it to people that help us and that we have outcomes. We talk about life domains. For those of you in Ohio who receive supports from a county board, you will see the life domains from Charting the LifeCourse in the new Ohio ISP. There are 6, and they're areas of our life that we all talk about, what we do during the day, where we live, who we hang out with, what we do for fun, our spiritual life, our health, our safety, and not health and safety the way we think about it, and we've been taught as families to think about with our family members, but what we think about what we do for our own health and safety. Do you take vitamins? Do you go to the gym? Do you go to the dentist on a regular basis or to your physicians? Do you have an alarm on your house? Do you have alert systems on your bank account so that if someone uses your credit card, you get an alert? We all take care of our health and safety. It's not just the way we've been taught in the DD system. We talk about everybody has 3 buckets of needs. We need information, we need goods and services that help us, and we need to talk to other people with lived experience, the same experience as us. And that's why this series is so exciting and why I'm so excited that there are so many family members and siblings on the call. So thank you for joining us tonight. We know that we have to look at services that are integrated, not just from the service system, and we want families and people with lived experience to be involved when there's any kind of policy and system change. Tonight, I'm really going to talk about how this is for all people and the importance of seeing the person in the context of their family, and that in that family, every person gives and every person receives. The importance of having a trajectory of life experiences across the lifespan. You know, what are people doing? Where do they live? What do they do for fun? What are they doing for their spiritual needs? And then looking at those 3 buckets of need, having information, having tools and resources, and connecting with others with similar experience. So tonight, my goal is to share resources with you that can help fill those 3 buckets of need, and also giving you this opportunity to connect with other people with similar life experiences. You don't have a handout for this because you don't really need it. It's just 3 concentric circles divided into 4 quadrants, but it's called a relationship map. And let me talk about why we would use this. Whenever we use a tool, whenever professionals use any kind of a tool with us, they should be explaining why. Why am I doing this? Why am I showing you this? Why am I asking you these questions? And if they don't explain, ask them. Why do you need to know? What are you asking? Why are you asking me this question? But I want you, and I'm going to ask you to do this on yourself or do this for your family member. In the center, you would put your name or the person's name. So if I put my name here, Barb, and then I would think of who's in my family, and I would put the people that I consider close to me, and maybe I have some relatives that are not so close and they might be further out. Think about if you have siblings. Not all siblings, we don't like all our siblings the same. Oh gosh. So some may be very close to us and some may be further away. The second quadrant I want you to think, and I want you to think about who is in your relationship map and where would you put them? I'm not going to ask you to share the details, but I'm going to ask you to share what was it like, and was there anything you learned and went, oh my goodness, I didn't realize. Think about friends. When you put people's names on the map, so the first name is fine. You only name somebody once. So I did not have sisters. I had two brothers. They are both deceased. But I have a friend right now that is one of those people, you know, that you can call at any time, and she's here. She has supported me through many, many life challenges. And she often calls me sister, and I often call her sister. So I may not put her in this friends quadrant because I consider her family. So I could put her up here. In other words, what I'm telling you is you make the decision. It's up to you. No one's going to grade your relationship map. It's a way for you to think about who's in my life or who's in the life of the person I love that I'm concerned about. Third quadrant over on the left, people who support me at work or school. So think about who those people are. Your teachers. I worked in the public school. I worked at a Montessori school. I worked at a Catholic school. When I started working in schools, my professor said, when you start working in a school, you need to meet two people. I'm sure some of you know who those two people are. You need to become good friends with the secretary, and you need to become good friends with the custodian or the maintenance person. And those people, in the time I worked in the schools, I could go to them, my car won't start, and anything, and they knew who to call or who could help. So think about who supports you at work or at school. Your coworkers, your supervisor. Deb talked about, mentor. I'm humbly, I share that she does call me her mentor. So I'm hoping I would be in Deb's circle, either under friend, because we do call ourselves sisters, or maybe family, or maybe people who support me at work, wherever Deb feels like it. And then over on the right, people who support me at home. And a lot of times we, people without disabilities, have difficulty identifying people who support us at home and other places. But think about it. I live in a condo, so I have a condo manager if something goes wrong on the outside of the house. If something goes wrong in the inside of the house, I call my handyman. Do you have a doctor? Do you have a dentist? Do you have a mechanic? Do you take your car to the same person? Do you have a spiritual leader, a priest, a rabbi, a pastor, a minister? Do you have a coach of any kind? Going to the gym, a life coach, a professional coach. Do you have a beautician or a barber? We all need help and use relationships. So I asked you to think about your own relationship map. Now I'm going to pose a question. I'm going to look in chat and see if there are any questions. You don't see any circles? You don't see circles on my screen? Oh my.
Hey, Barbara.
Yes?
I was dropped my internet. So I'm going to go ahead and ask everyone if they could sign off here and sign on again, because I don't know what else. Well, wait a minute. Let me check screen share.
I'll stop sharing. Hold on. Go ahead. Everybody's here.
Everyone's here. It's like lights on, no one's home. Give me one moment.
Okay. Oh my, that is so weird.
I heard everything. Okay.
Oh, good, good.
So my apology for that. Yeah.
Then we will
Go ahead and share your
continue.
screen again.
Okay, okay. So I want you to think about if you did that relationship map on yourself or on maybe your family member, what struck you? What quadrants were full for you or more full? And which quadrants were more full for your loved one? And if you could type in chat or if you want to unmute and share, I'm happy to, I would love to hear your thoughts of what it was like to really think about relationships in those 4 quadrants. Anybody want to share? You can type. Anybody?
I think if you take the time to write something like this out, first of all, it'll jog your memory whenever you need that information, but it also will show you how where you're weak or what area that you're not connected with, kind of like that person planet, excuse me, the integrated star. You kind of know where you're weak and what needs to be built up and who needs to be added to your list.
Awesome. Awesome. And thank you, Aileen. I had more resources than I thought I had. Awesome. Awesome. And I'm glad that you realize that. I would suggest you do this over time. I can't tell you how many times I've done this on myself and gone, oh my goodness, I didn't put so-and-so on there because you don't think about it. The other thing that I've coached staff and families to think about is, why do you consider someone close to you? So if you put someone like my friend Christina, who I consider a sister, I put her here. Why, the other question is, as you're thinking about who can help your loved one, why did you put that person so close to them? For me, why did I put Christina so close? She's trustworthy. She doesn't judge. She's supportive, and she has literally dropped everything several times in this past year. I had a couple of significant losses in my family, and the minute I contacted her to tell her, she was like, I'll be there in 15 minutes. So what makes that person special? And that will help you think about who can help our loved one. What are those qualities that make someone close to you, make you feel that someone is close to you? So it's also, I'm glad you saw that you had more resources, more relationships that you thought. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, and I already told you Nick was born in 58. I was just going to turn 5. So I am an OG. I'm an old person. But I don't have time for games anymore. I'm pretty quick about, I don't need to be around you. You zap my energy. I need to be with people who are supportive and trustworthy and honest and genuine, right? Not that I don't have fun with my friends, and not that we don't laugh, and not that we don't, have some wine at some of the wineries in Ashtabula County, but it's those kind of people. Nice. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for sharing and contributing. So some of so again, why do we use it? Because I always say to people, there's got to be a reason. A service coordinator should not be pulling this out and saying, here, let's do a relationship map. Your question should be why? Why do you need this information? Why are you asking me? But it helps us identify who we feel close to. It helps us identify what we value in those relationships. And it might help us identify how that person could maybe support us in the future. I hate the term natural supports, and I'm just going to do a disclosure. That is a Medicaid term. But you and I do not call a neighbor and say, I'm expecting a package. I won't be home tomorrow. Could you check my porch? And if you see it, can you take it in so it doesn't get wet or stolen or whatever? And could you be my natural support? They probably would look at you and go, what the heck are you talking about? You want me to help you? I'm your friend. And so I hate the term natural support. It is a Medicaid term. I have the slide in red because I hate the term so much. But it's a system term. And what I don't like about it, and what a lot of families don't like about it, is there's an assumption when someone says, are you on natural support? There's an assumption you're going to do something and you're not going to get support from the system. It's not clear or clarified, and it can set up expectations. People will say, well, you're a natural support, so you should be doing this. And it's like, no. And SIBs, we often get this, well, you're their sister. Yeah, but I have a life and a family of my own, and I can't do everything over here. I can do some things, but I also have to take care of myself and my family over here. And families hate the term. In fact, I was contacted by a family just a couple of weeks ago and said, how can we get rid of this term? And I said, I'm sorry, it's a Medicaid term. I said, we can't. I said, I wish we could, but it's a Medicaid term. And in rule, it says you have to list natural supports. So Disability Rights Ohio says natural supports are the help and care that people get from friends, family, or community for free. But I love the next slide. You can read it. The next slide is, but they can't assume that you're going to do everything. And by federal law, it says natural supports have to be provided to someone voluntarily. So people cannot assume, well, you're the SIB or you're the parent, so you should. Now, parents under the age of 18, parents have duties and roles. Okay. So just to clarify and share my angst over that term. When you and I talk about our life, we don't talk about natural supports, we talk about relationships. And we talk about reciprocity. So my poor friend Christina doesn't know I'm talking about her, so I hope her ears are not burning. But I have already told you how supportive she's been in the past 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, I don't know, less than a year, through some pretty significant events in my life. But I also like to think that I have supported her. So there is reciprocity. I don't just receive, I also give. And remember this, all family members, there's reciprocity. We give and we receive. When we talk about a relationship, we talk about communication. We have good communication. We talk to each other. We're honest. I can trust them. They listen to me. I feel like I'm heard. I don't feel like they hear the first 4 words out of my mouth and they're already talking to me and fixing something when I didn't even ask them to. And think about, a good friend is someone who will listen and doesn't feel they have to fix you. In Charting the Life course, we use the language caring about, and those are the emotional needs. You see the icon of the heart? So those are the emotional needs. Those are the people that show you affection. Those are the people that tell you what a great person you are. Those are the people that know your stories. So my brother Jim has 2 daughters. Both of their parents are deceased and they are in their 30s. And every time I'm with them, I laugh because the first thing they'll say to me is, Auntie Barbie, tell me about when I was little. Auntie Barbie, tell me what I did when we went to Sesame Street Live. Auntie Barbie, tell me when Daddy told this joke. They're telling me the story, but they're asking me to tell the story, which I think is funny. But think about who in your life has those stories. Is it, a lot of times it's the sibling, because the parents have some stories, but siblings on this call, that we have stories that we don't tell our parents, right? Like I never told my mother that my brother Nick was put up in a tree at camp. I almost had a heart attack when I found that out. But anyway, that was a story I never shared with my mother. And a lot of times we make a lifetime commitment. Caring for, you see the icon is a shield. So that's the physical caring, who helps you with that day-to-day care. My brother needed what we in the field would call total care. He had to be fed, he had to be changed, he had to be positioned, he had to be bathed, oh my gosh, whatever. You all know what that means. Caring for their finances or material needs, as my mother got older, a lot of times I was providing her financial support, but I also would go grocery shopping for her sometimes. I would maybe cook for her and make things I knew she knew and put them in microwavable crocks so she didn't have to cook and stand over a stove. Who cares for you as far as inclusion and membership? And please don't say I do it on my own. How many of you have friends who say, hey, we should go try that new restaurant? Let's go out to the movies. Christina and I and her husband like the wineries in Ashtabula County. And so if a day looks nice, sometimes I'll get a text. You got time to go to a winery today? It's a nice day, we can sit outside. She's facilitating my inclusion, okay? Think about your spouse, think about your partner. We need to go to this event, it's good for my work. They're facilitating your inclusion and membership. And then an advocate for support. Don't think about, I talk on my own, I do all my own talking. Think about, do you ever ask a family member to go to medical appointment with you because you want them to hear something, or you want them to go with you when you're doing something legal, buying a house, opening an account, doing financial planning. We all need help. And we all depend on our relationships for that help. So I gave you this tool called Caring About. And remember, caring about is the heart. So it's the emotional support. You see the things to consider. So what I want you to think about is think about the people that you're concerned about, the people you love. And think about who cares about them, who shows them love, who shows them affection, who trusts them. It could be friends, it could be relatives, it could be neighbors, it could be former teachers. Who? I did this with a woman who grew up in a foster care system, and she, at the time we did it, which was like a year and a half ago, she was 22 and she was getting a little emotional. Barb, there's nobody, I was separated from my family, there was abuse, blah, blah, blah. I said, excuse me. I said, I don't want you to get, the purpose for this is not for you to get emotional or experience trauma. It's for you to think about who's in your life. 1 minute. And about a week later, she goes, okay, I did it. I said, okay, we'll have a private conversation. She goes, Barb, I started thinking about who shows me love, who cares about me. And she said, I realized that when I need help, when I want to talk through something, she was in college and she was getting ready to graduate and consider grad school. And she said, when I was thinking about, did I want to be a social worker? Did I want to go to grad school? She said, I realized that the person that I always call is a former teacher. And she said, I called her and I talked to her and I said, I'm doing this thing. She was learning about Charting the LifeCourse, and this was like a homework assignment. And she said to her teacher, I'm doing this thing and, I have to think about who's in my life and who does this. And she said, I thought of you because every time I want to make a decision, I reach out to you and you listen to me and you help me talk through things. And her teacher said, and you love me and show me affection. You are important to me. And the young woman said, oh my God, Barb, I never knew I was important to anyone else. Mm-hmm. Think about who spends time with your loved one. If you're thinking about using this for who can do some of the things that I'm doing. Also, family members, I want you to think about when you do this, look at what generation people that you list are in. A lot of families have said, I realize that everybody I put down on that chart is the same age as me, the parent. And hello, if I'm worried about me not being here, then what makes me think they're going to be here? And so families have intentionally had to think about the next generation. So not just siblings, but maybe nieces and nephews, maybe cousins. Think about who spends time and shares memory. Who do they call up and say, remember when we? And I think about this when I think about my nieces, because that's what they keep asking me for is, tell me the memories, Aunt B, tell me the memories. One dad said, no one, there's no one. I don't have, my daughter doesn't have a sibling. It's just mom and dad and my daughter, and there's no one that she spends time with. And I said, I know you're active in your faith community because we had conversations. I knew that. This was a friend. This is not somebody that I ever supported in a professional manner. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you tell me you go to church every week and you belong to an ethnic community. So your faith-based community is also your ethnic, your cultural community. Is there nobody at church that talks to your daughter? And he stopped and he went, oh my God. He goes, there is one young girl. His daughter is, 22, I think. And he goes, there's a young girl who's about my daughter's age. And whenever she sees my daughter, she stops and she just doesn't say hi, but she talks to her. And he goes, Barb, why haven't I invited her to brunch after church? I said, I don't know. And then he said, oh my gosh. I said, you told me your daughter likes certain performers and that your daughter went to a concert with your wife. I said, is there anybody else she could have gone to the concert with? And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, when two people go to a concert, they can talk about that concert for 60 years. Remember when, and, remember who we saw, and remember when he did this, and remember when we lost our voices and we screamed. And he looked at me and he goes, oh my gosh, her cousin is the same age as her. And he goes, why didn't I invite her to go also? He goes, I could have paid for her ticket. And then he goes, well, actually, her father, my brother, could have paid for her ticket too. But he hadn't thought about what are the possibilities out there and who are the people that are showing some interest. And then who knows the cultures and the traditions? For those of you that have heard me talk about Nick, what was very important to him were our Greek traditions and our Greek faith and the Greek priest. And when he was dying and hospice was offering support and said, we can have, someone come, a chaplain and talk with you and pray with you. And he became quite upset. I am Greek. I have a priest. I don't need anybody else. And I was like, oh, it's okay. You don't have to worry about that. No one, we won't be upset. But anyway, so just making sure who knows those traditions. And then caring for. Who are the people who provide that day-to-day care? For example, I know several families where one sibling can do it, but another one is like, I can't do that. I can't do that day to day. I'll pay for the groceries. I'll send you gift cards. I'll pay for their cable. But I can't do that. I just can't do that. So maybe they can provide the material supports or the financial supports. And then who connects them to other people? You know, helping them find opportunities. Before the call started, we were talking about the virtual community. We thrive together and the virtual programming that they have, and how people from all over Ohio join these calls, but also people from California and Arizona. And I've presented to them, it's a group of people with lived experience and they're day providers. And I'm just amazed. They'll get on and somebody will ask, how's your mom this week? Last week you said she wasn't feeling so good. And I'm like, how do you guys know each other? And they're like, from We Thrive Together. So it's not just the people we see in person, but in this day and time, it's that virtual community. I am part of a virtual sibling community. I know siblings all over the United States and Canada and Australia because I've met them on Facebook, but I've also sometimes met them in person. And Deb and I are both ambassadors in Charting the LifeCourse, and we've met ambassadors from all over the country. And so we're part of that community. And then who can go to the medical appointments? You know, is there someone in the family that can do that? Is there someone in the family who might be a nurse or a doctor and might be willing to provide that support? I have to laugh because my brother Jim, when he was hurt, I probably took him, he lived with me after his accident. I probably took him towards the end of his life. I probably took him to the main campus of the Cleveland Clinic 4 to 6 times a month. And I went to every appointment and I would sit down and I'm old school, guys. So I had a notebook, I had a pen, and I would start writing. And when we went to one appointment, it was a new doctor, a new specialist. God knows he had many. And the specialist walked in and said, Mr. Sapharas, I'm Dr. So-and-so. It's nice to meet you. And this must be your sister who takes notes. And I looked at her and I said, how do you know that? And she said, because you're in my chart. And I said, what do you mean I'm in my chart? And she said, there's an entry that says, Mr. Sapharas is often accompanied to appointments with his sister who takes notes. And I said, okay. And she said, please, I'm happy. I'm happy. She said, because when people come to see doctors, they don't hear everything we say. And they say, oh yeah, okay. And it's good to have someone else there to take notes. So think about that and think about multi-generations and think about who can do one piece, not necessarily the whole thing, every single, all 7 of those things. So when you use the reciprocal roles, you're using it to really look at who's in their life, but also whose life are they in? So when I think of my brother, who did he show love to? It was Jim, my mother, Jim's wife and then ex-wife, the nieces, the cousins, the grandmother, the aunt, and then who showed him love? Again, this can be very emotional to do. Sometimes people go, there's nobody, or I'm the only person listed. And so what it helps you do is say, okay, where do I need to start thinking about approaching people? So I need to jump ahead for a minute. Okay. All right. So I worked with a young woman who lives with cerebral palsy, and she was using both of these tools, the reciprocal roles and also the mapping relationships. And she said, I live with my parents. I depend on them every day to help me get up and get ready to go to work. I depend on them to take me to the doctor. And she said, I'm a little concerned because they're getting older. And so as she did this, she realized that all of the support she got was from her parents, but she also has siblings. And she started thinking about, well, I love them, they love me. And my next steps, she kept thinking is, I'm going to see if one of them will start going to medical appointments with me. I'm going to see, the other thing she wanted help with was banking and finances. And so she said, I'm really seriously thinking about asking one of my siblings, one of them to help me with medical, one of them to help me with finances. So it helped her start thinking about, I've depended on my parents for everything. I need to start thinking about somebody, who else? This can also help people realize, like I told you, the other woman who said, I didn't realize that my teacher also feels that I contribute to her life and I care about her and I care for her. And, caring, I'll wait for a minute. I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry. But again, who serves in this role now? Who shows you love and affection? Who do you show love and affection to? And then who might be able to do it in the future? Same with spending time in creating memories. That father, it's just mom and me. Who can do it in the future? Well, let me think about the cousin, this young lady at church. And he said, all of a sudden, I'm thinking of possibilities because he's not thinking narrow, that one person has to do everything that mom and dad do. Same with caring for. This woman, who serves in the role, everybody here was mom and dad, mom and dad, mom and dad. And she had to think about, well, who do I provide support to? And I said, but do you help your parents around the house? Do you do some financial needs? And I can't tell you how many people have said, I give my mother money out of my paycheck, or I take her out to dinner, or what we all do, right? This is how we provide financial and material support. And siblings. Think about how our siblings have helped us. We may put ourselves, who serves in this role now? I'm the one that helps them meet people. I'm the one. But who are they doing it for? Did you participate in Special Olympics? Either as on a unified team or volunteering? Did you volunteer because of your brother or sister? So we need to recognize that people have reciprocal roles. They contribute to the family as well as receive support from the family. So I'll just ask you, what was it like as you looked at that reciprocal roles? I'm not going to put you in breakout rooms. Is there any aha moments you had? Did you realize maybe that you didn't really recognize or put down on paper ever before the roles that your loved ones have? Anybody want to type or unmute?
I was wondering what some of the siblings thought about this. I had put in the chat that I used to watch my adult brother so my parents could have a date night. So I would be traveling all week and then I'd come in town. They have a date night. and get to relate again to each other. So there are simple things that we can do.
Absolutely. That's a great example.
How many siblings here, what do they think about the reciprocal roles?
Anything? My brother used to hang with me and my friends more. I miss those days. Oh, I'm sorry. Did
too.
somebody unmute?
Yeah.
Hi, Barb, this is Steve. And Jennifer is my daughter. We have a special needs son. And I will first just say, I'm very happy to say she just got awarded co-guardian today
All right.
for us, so that down the road, this planning is really great.
Oh, awesome.
And this is good because Jennifer was that reciprocal. She did so many things with him, including him, I think is what I wanted to say, because he got to be one of the gang. I mean, we all had our friends. Well, she included him. And that's why it's so good that as we look forward, I, as a parent, feel he's going to be okay, because she's going to be sure that he is taken care of. But we've still got a lot to plan, and this forum is wonderful. So I just wanted to say that, because I don't know how much more she'll say, but we're really proud of her and love her for doing this.
Oh, Jennifer, I hope that you connect. If you do Facebook, there is a Facebook group. It's called SibNet, SIBNET. And it's adults that have brothers and sisters with all disabilities. Doesn't matter. It could be a medical, it could be intellectual, it could be physical, it could be anything. And there are over 5,000 SIBs on that Facebook page. And it's a closed Facebook page, so it is private. And it's amazing. You can post on there and there's no judgment. What you'll hear is, oh yeah, I had to do that too. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Oh yeah. And so it is just an amazing way to get support. I forget if you're in Ohio, but are you in Ohio?
No, they're in New Hampshire.
We're in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the SibNet is great. There's also the Ohio SIBS is doing a lot virtually. So please check that out. There's webinars that they're doing for free, and other siblings will be on, and also the Sibling Leadership Network. And that is an international nonprofit. I am very proud to say that I was part of taking Sibling Leadership Network to a nonprofit status and was the chair several years ago, as well as for Ohio SIBS. And it was so amazing for me to meet other people who were siblings, because I didn't really have that experience growing up. So
I wanted to say something to Jennifer. I remember being co-guardian with my father. I felt it was so important for both of us to be guardian should my father pass away before, that there would be a hiccup in the care of my brother. So that's a step in the right direction for sure. Are you, Steve, are you thinking about, future planning, kind of like what we talked about last week? And hopefully when you use these tools as we progress, it'll help you and Jennifer be talking about the future for your child and for her sibling.
Yes, yeah, we've got the Special Needs Trust already established.
Excellent.
But it's getting into the two things you talked about tonight, Bob. It's into the caring and the emotional side, and then the day-to-day side, the things that have to be done. So this is great. But yeah, we're working a lot on this now, and thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us.
And you know what? You're going to feel so much better when it's done. You are.
Exactly. So thank you so much for sharing. Let me go back to the, and please, anybody, if you feel comfortable, unmute or type in chat. I appreciate it. So the reciprocal roles really helps you identify if there are gaps. And next steps, who can we ask? Who can we? So let me give you an example that just happened. My partner passed away a few months ago, and we had been together for over 30 years. His best friend is now very ill, and his best friend's daughter texted me and said, I'm going to be out of town. Dad is not doing well. She gave me the dates. She goes, when I'm gone, can you call him? So again, that reciprocity. I know stories. I've known him for decades. But she reached out, can you just call him? You know how much he likes to talk to people, and I won't be able to go see him every day. So can you make that call? And I said, absolutely. So it's in my calendar on what days I have to call. So again, a lot of times our biggest barrier is we're afraid to ask. And I know I grew up in a family where you didn't talk about this stuff. So we didn't ask nobody for nothing. So I'm glad to see that families are doing more future planning. So mapping family roles, again, the same reciprocal roles, caring about those emotional, the heart, caring for the shield, the physical supports, and there's 3 columns after the description, but they have questions under each area. So, and I apologize, my bifocals are not working too good. So who loves and cares about him or her? The first column is who's in their life and looking ahead. And then this last column to me is one of the most important columns, and that's what's important to know. If someone's going to do this, what do they need to know? So do they need to know that they love getting birthday cards? Do they need to know that on their birthday, they want to go to Olive Garden? Do they need to know that they like this kind of cake? Do they need to know that Christmas, you open your presents on Christmas morning? All those things that are in our head, but are probably not written down anywhere. So when my friend's daughter contacted me, she said, he loves to talk. You have lots you guys can talk about. Can you call him? What's important to know, what's important for people who call him is, well, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know, but I have lots of memories that I can share with him. So I am sure I will be able to engage in conversation with him. And I love this last column because this is the quality of life stuff. So do they have to go to church on Sunday? Do they want to go to a specific church? Do they want to participate in Special Olympics? On mine, it would be, I don't eat meat. So anybody who's going to support me needs to know I don't eat meat. Okay.
No steak for Barb.
No steak for Barb. No, I defer. And I can't tell you how many people have said, but I make a good chicken. And I'm like, and that is meat. And they're like, no chicken. And I am like, yes, it is. So just think about those quality of life things that people need to know. That would go in that last column. I strongly suggest that these tools that you start them, think about them, add to them, but you keep them with your important papers, where you keep your trust. If you have an ABLE account, if you have letters of intent, your guardianship papers, if you have guardianship. Keep this chart so everybody knows, a good life is he's got to have birthday cards. And I will tell you, I cannot tell you how many times on Facebook, on SibNet, somebody will type my brother's been very ill this year. He's finally out of rehab and is going to a group home. If you would be kind enough to send a card, private message me and I'll give you his address. I cannot tell you how many people will respond, okay? Because we all know how important it is to be remembered. People will post for birthdays. It's my brother's 50th birthday. I would love if he got 50 cards. Well, he got more than 50. I remember a couple of years ago, during COVID, one woman posted, I know this is SibNet, excuse me, but my mother has devoted her life to taking care of my brother. And she was turning a milestone birthday. I can't remember what it was, 60 or I don't know. And she said, if any of you would be interested in sending her a card just to show her appreciation for being such a great mom to my brother, people went nuts. They were writing, oh my gosh, the role of a mother is so important. My mother was so important. I just want to thank you for, your daughter loves you and says how wonderful you are. So it's those little things. It's not just, oh my gosh, who's going to do these major things. So think about this third column. What's important to know? What do we need to make sure continues or we need to make happen? How they celebrate holidays, their birthday, repository of knowledge. When my aunt started experiencing dementia, I had my mother give me photos of when they were growing up, and I wrote a storybook. And I put the picture, but I also wrote like, Katie and Melanie went to, this place and remember how we ate ice cream or something. And that way the staff in the nursing home, but also her own kids who may not have known those stories from when she was a little girl, could read that book to her and had a repository of knowledge. And let me go to the next one, the lifetime commitments you all know.
I have something, Barb. We got to find
Oh,
it
yes.
first. Jill, you mentioned something that you do on Google Docs. Could you share about that?
And I will tell you, these mapping tools are not in the ISP. They're really for families to do if you want to share it with your ISP team. But remember, why are you giving them this information? What do you want them to do with it?
Well, I'll tell you what Jill, what she wrote.
Okay.
Let's see. Sorry. You talk about your glasses, mine too. All right, Jill. I keep an updated Guardian log in my Google Docs and can send in for Guardian requirement and includes valuable info for anyone that needs this information.
Awesome.
She also asked the question is, for guardianship, do you need to go before a judge? I think in Ohio, you definitely do.
Yes. Yeah, the guardian is actually the probate court, but you're I forget what the title is. Also, I know that ARC has a center on future planning, and families can go in and set up a password protected account where they can put some of this information in. And depending on what kind of support someone needs, they can even write, when he gets up in the morning, wash his face with this soap, or, whatever details are important. And they can give the password and access to the account to siblings, to other family members, and they can go in and add their input. So, and it's free. And that's ARC, the Future Planning Center for ARC. I don't have the website, but if you type that in, you'll find it.
Yeah, I'll put the website in.
Okay, thanks. So, who can advocate for them? Who would want to go to the doctor's appointments? Who wants to go to those planning meetings? Because we all know just how wonderful those meetings are. Ha, ha, ha. Never mind. But, maybe one person will do that and another person will do the medical appointments. But who is willing, but also who might have a little bit of knowledge? And I'm not going to put you in breakout rooms. So for this mapping family roles, it really helps you think about and organize information to plan ahead. It also helps you identify, maybe I need to look at developing relationships. And again, think about the next generation. Who do you know in that next generation? Don't just think about people your own age.
Barb, Jill asked, is this letter of intent stuff 2?
Is the letter of intent what?
Is this letter of intent stuff 2? I'm not sure what that means. If you wouldn't mind.
Okay. A lot of times families are asked to write a letter of intent. I want so-and-so to do this. I want this to happen in their life. I want whatever. You can, if you are talking to an attorney and setting up a trust and able account and all that, you might want to look at letters of intent, power of attorney, or guardianship. There's a whole continuum of paperwork that's possible. Thank you for putting the ARC's website, Deb. I just know I've gone in there and I love that you can put lots of detail. So, my brother needed total physical care. So it was important that you used the right shampoo, the right soap. He liked certain clothing. Some people don't like labels. Some people don't like zippers and snaps and buttons and, all of that kind of stuff that's in your head, but probably does not get written in a will. It's put all that stuff down so that the transition, if someone else has got to do it, they know what has to happen. So I covered the concept that this is for all people. I don't care how old your loved one is. Think about it even for yourself. Who can help you? The importance of that person in the context of family, that you have a trajectory of what kind of life you want your loved one to have. So, one mother said, when I was talking to a group of parents, she said, it's all me, Barb. It's me and my husband. It's me. I have 4 kids. The youngest one has a developmental disability. It's a son. The 3 older ones are daughters. They all have husbands. They're married. It's me. And I said, but what makes a good life for him? And she said, oh my gosh, I want him to be able to have enough money to go to Best Buy and buy whatever new electronic gizmo he likes, because he can use electronics on his own, and he loves electronics. And she goes, we have a special needs trust, but I'm thinking I need to set up an ABLE account. And then she goes, I don't want to ask my daughters. I don't want to ask. And then at the end of the presentation, she said, Barb, why haven't I asked my son-in-law? She stood up and waved her finger at me. And I was like, I don't know. And she said, Barb, my son-in-law is like a vice president at a bank. And she goes, why haven't I asked him to give my son support with his ABLE account and his special needs trust? And I said, I don't know. Why haven't you asked him? And she goes, he gets along with his brother-in-law. They love each other. They have fun together. I'm sure if I said to him, we have the account set up, we have a stable account, enable account, we have a special needs trust. Will you at least give him guidance on which one he can use and when and how much and blah, 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 blah. She said, I am sure he will do that. Why haven't I thought of him? And I said, I don't know. So I think, you know, it just helps us think about possibilities and options. And then supporting the 3 buckets of need. I hope in this hour and whatever that I gave you information and resources. I talked about,
I didn't get that.
oops,
Could you
my
try again?
smartwatch is talking to me. I gave you some goods and services. I gave you the tools. We gave you some websites to look at, gave you information on how to use them. And also in that middle bucket, gave you the opportunity to connect with others that are living a similar experience. And I appreciate the fact that you're sharing your experiences either in chat or by unmuting, because that's how we build our own confidence. Like, oh, I'm not the only one. And oh, they're doing it too. So, oh, this is a good idea. So whenever you use
know what you
one of
mean,
these
I
tools,
just
whether,
showed you I gave you some goods
I
and
don't-
services.
okay.
I gave you the tools.
Oh
We
my
gave you some
goodness, it
websites
just
to look at,
recorded
gave you
me.
information on how to use them.
Smartwatches are too smart.
The opportunity to connect with
I
others
guess
that
I
are
have to
living a
keep
similar
my
experience.
hand
And
away
I
from my
appreciate the
mouth.
fact that you're sharing your
Oh my
experiences
goodness.
either in chat or by a meeting, because that's
I
how we build our own
apologize.
confidence.
I apologize. So whenever you use the relationship map, the reciprocal roles, or the mapping family roles, always know you have to identify why. Why am I doing this? Why do I think it will help me? If staff ask you to fill it out, ask them why they need to know. I tell professionals, explain it to the family. You've told me there's no one but you. This might help you think of other people. You don't have to use all 3 that I shared with you today. You don't have to use any. But if you think 1 or 2 or all 3 may help you, please, please, please go ahead and use it. And you don't have to turn them into anybody unless there's a reason. I like that, Jill, thank you for telling us you have a Google Docs. You know, some of this stuff might be stuff you put in that Google Doc file. So we have some highlights coming up. The session on Monday has been canceled. It's going to be rescheduled in March, and you don't need to go to that because you're going to this tonight. If you know anybody who wants to learn more about Charting the Life Course, I'm doing a session next Wednesday from 9 to noon. It is free. And you can get all the information if you go to frnohio.org. I'm also doing a series just for families on 3 consecutive Wednesdays from 4 to 5:30. Everybody on the call is Eastern. Yeah, New Hampshire's Eastern. Okay. 4 to 5:30, and you have to sign up for these so you get the Zoom links, which is why I tell you, go to FRN Ohio. On March 17th, we're going to have a showcase at the Renaissance Hotel in Westerville, just north of Columbus. And, you know, if you can make it, we'd love to see you. The purpose of the showcase is not to train people, but to hear how people are using Charting the Life Course in their lives. So that's all for me. Any questions you have, I'm happy to answer. I think Deb is going to put a survey or she's either going to mail it or put it in chat. But I would like you to either unmute or type in chat something you appreciated about today's session. It helps me, especially as I plan. Aileen, thank you for doing that. I've been my sister's co-legal guardian for, oh my gosh, of 17 years. Wow, 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 wow. And was never aware of the sibling resources. Oh my gosh, shame on us.
Yeah, this is Aileen Joseph, and I'm so grateful to both of you in the sibling panel last week. I literally found out about this from my sister's essay who I had previously asked about if there were any sibling support groups. And unfortunately, she was not aware of any until the Facebook invite for the sibling panel that occurred last week. And I feel like just from that first one, I mean, I joined the Facebook group, have looked at a lot of the resources you guys shared last week, and I am just blown away by all that's out there that I was never aware was there before. So I've become a lot more hands-on with my sister, and I am just craving as much information as possible. So I appreciate it.
Aileen, please
don't
feel
lose
free-
touch with us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, please
Yes,
feel free to
thank
reach out to Deb and myself. We're both Sibs. We know, we've been there. And Jill, I would thank you for the comment about the worksheets and examples. Jennifer, you're in New Hampshire, right? I wish you could lived in Ohio. Says, I wish I lived in Ohio. I'd go to those wineries with you. If you ever come to Ohio, Jennifer, let me know. Because we will go. I love it.
I wanted to share this last week and I didn't have a chance. It's one of my favorite sibling books. It's called The Power of the Powerless, and it's written by a sibling. And I'll put the ISBN number in it. But for you siblings, it's really cool because this man wrote an article for the New York Times and it says too long. So Reader's Digest published it. And he ended up visiting many powerless people and wrote this story about them. And my book is yellow. It shows you my age, I guess. And of course, I yellow highlighted everything. But it's always neat to have those kind of tools as well. So I'll plug that in.
Awesome. And please look at the website for the Sibling Leadership Network. There are resources on that website. Books written by siblings, books about the sibling relationship, for young sibs, for, if you're both, Deb and I have lost our brother. And so the two of us have talked often about, and we did a presentation last year on grief. And so there are lots of books, lots of resources. Thank you, Steve, for your comments. I'm glad it helped you prepare for future planning. Janet, thank you so much. The links in the sibling resources. Oh, good. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, good. So yes, share them with your sibs that are out of state. Awesome. Oh, and you have a Zoom every week. Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
That is great. That is so great. Well, thank you, everybody. Please, if you have questions, reach out. If you think about something, you can always find Deb and me. We're pretty visible and available.
I want to remind everybody that next week on Thursday, we're going to be talking about the sandwich generation. So again, we have a sibling presenting, and we'll be talking about, a generation where we're caring for our aging parents, our own kids, and our siblings with disabilities. So Aileen, that might be another one you want to see. And then the next week we'll have the Ohio SIBS Executive Director, Diana Temple, share about reaching children and teens of people with disabilities. And they're starting something new regarding reaching out to teenagers with, I believe, the Nysonger Center. So it's pretty cool stuff coming up. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Barbara, thank you so much once again for doing this. Your heart for, all of us family members. It makes our hard times worth a while when we can share a journey and help someone move a little bit farther ahead in their journey. So take care, everybody. Have a great night. And thanks, Barb, so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining and contributing. I'm just checking chat, Deb, to see if I missed anything. Oh, that's awesome. Connecting for the first